We are now recording.
Okay. Am I on? We'll see. We'll call to order the Lowell City Council work session for Tuesday, March 2nd at 7 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bennett,
Here.
Councilor Harris,
Here.
Councilor Stratus,
Present.
Councilor Drott,
Here.
and Mr. Mayor, Councilor Myers is absent due to an excused absence.
Okay. Okay, we have 6 items tonight. It's going to be reduced to 5 in that on number 3, the applicant has withdrawn their application for that committee. So we'll be just having 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. First thing up is discussion for purchase of 100 water meters and backflow option in program for public works department. Mr. Cottle, you want to start on this?
Sir, I will turn this over to Public Works Director Max, and he can speak to this better than I could.
Mayor Bennett, Council, we're actually going to start with the backflow opt-in, opt-out program first. I think you guys all got a copy of that. I'm just going to talk about it real quick. This is a program that would allow pretty much take the burden off the residents a little bit. Backflow tests are required annually per the state. It is something that is monitored or enforced by the city, but required by the state. Backflow device is just that. It protects the drinking water in your home from going backwards into the pipe to, infect other people's drinking water. Most commonly used are sprinklers. Some people that have pools, hot tubs, and so on. We are getting an increasing number of them throughout the city. This last round of year, we had about 79. When I started here in 2014, we only had 31 on the list. So a lot to take in. They're due each calendar year on the anniversary date. This test needs to be performed by a qualified professional. So there's just a lot of benefits to this program. The sheet that I have is modeled after Veneta. We've discussed this in the last couple of years. We've just never made it all the way to council. And essentially what this program would do, as you guys can read on there, this program would allow each individual resident, we'd send them a letter if they're interested, to either opt in, opt out, as they choose. And just because they opt in doesn't mean they can't opt out the very next year. But this would take the burden from them having to call somebody and schedule it, have them come out, pay the fee and do everything. And instead, it would just be something the city would take care of. Currently, the last 7 years that I've worked here, we've had about 25% cooperation with residents, even after we send out 3 letters. So we send a warning letter out in about June, just to let them know, hey, backflow this year. And then we send 2 more reminders out. And then if they don't do it by December, the city actually orders it and has it put on the utility bill. It's in our code, adopted in the code section. So we kind of talked about this a little bit the last couple of years, and I've talked to residents as we've gone through this process. And out of all the people on the list, 11 people are the only people who haven't responded, saying that they would be interested in something like this. So this is just a template to discuss. I left the fees blank, and the reason why I did is this is something I think that we'd have to adopt by resolution each year. Maybe like when we do the budget, when we do our utility fees. So this year, the city ordered 51 backflow devices and put them on utility bills. And the typical amount for a residential water meter, the price that we got was $35 a test. That's a pretty good price. Most people, if you call around, they average between 55 and 110 before they charge a destination charge to Lowell. So most of the landscape companies do this. There's plumbers that do this. They all charge a destination fee to Lowell, even though we're only 12 miles from town. So essentially what we do is we're getting a better deal by having them come out and testing them, in a group. So they're just paying the one destination charge. So not really a whole lot to say. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. If they're interested, they would check this. We'd follow it in your utility application folder. We would take care of scheduling them. If they opt out, obviously they have a choice to opt out and continue to do their own backflow tests. The problem is if they opt out, like it says in November 30th, they still, if they do not have the test submitted to the city by then, we will still order it and put it on the utility bill. So that's right out of code. So just looking for some suggestions, seeing what your guys' first thoughts, open for questions. Ask me whatever you need to ask me.
So you're ordering 100 more of these water meters that people can purchase?
No, this is for the backflow.
Okay,
I'm doing it backwards, Sammy. I went to the backflow first just because there's a lot more to talk about on that.
okay.
So this is only certain people have them, with underground irrigation, people that potentially pose a hazard to the drinking water system.
And are they a required thing?
They
I
are
mean,
required if the
If
hazard.
they have those certain things?
Yeah, so if you have in-ground sprinklers, a hot tub, a pool, usually 2 stories, people that have jacuzzi tubs. So there are certain things. Most of the new homes, it's identified during the inspection part from Northwest Code Professionals. So they'll tell them, hey, you're required to have a backflow or not. Our primarily use, we only have a handful of them that are not for irrigation. Almost everyone in the city of Lowell is used for irrigating their lawns or their gardens. Yeah. And it's a state requirement that the city enforces, adopted by ORS. So yeah,
Okay,
adopts the state code.
got it.
So
Anybody else?
yeah. So, this would be, one day a year that we would have a vendor come out and do the backflow, the backflow testing. And if that occurred, then we would add 35 or whatever the amount is onto their water bill. And then we would pay the gross bill to the vendor for the backflow testing.
Correct. We would pay it and then get reimbursed the direct fee on the utility bill. So like I said, we just recently did this. People who have backflow devices that didn't get them tested received their fee on this utility bill. So on their January bill, which was due in February. And out of the 79 people, 51 people, we used code, we ordered it on, got it tested. It would take more than a couple of days just because it takes about 30 minutes per test. If he has a helper, he can get it down to about 15. It's pretty involved because they have to clean out the box, make sure all the test ports are available. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, in a couple of days easily, but this includes not just residential. The city has backflow devices, obviously at the sewer treatment plant, because we use city water for process and motivation there. Treatment facility has one, the lift station, both the city parks have them because we irrigate there. The city library has them. So yeah, we're pretty familiar with it, because we're required, just like everybody else is, to have them tested annually and make sure they're in good working order. So.
Anybody else? Okay, I think this is a good idea that the city takes this over as much as possible. It's expensive. I know I got a letter, although I don't have a system, but I know when you get this letter, it has a whole slew of people, and if you start calling them, you're probably going to get a non-response that they're not interested in coming out and doing one, even if for the additional charge. So for the city to take it over, I think I would almost say just people have to opt out of the program to say, I'd like to get my own done. I think it's something that we should almost, if we can, mandate it or try to go to the point where this will be something, if you've got one of these, that you will be, your backflow will be tested, and if it fails, then you'll be, you're required, or the city can take on after that. But for $35 versus anything else, that sounds like a pretty good deal. And I don't, as far as the resolution, I don't know that we couldn't just say that it would be charged as we're charged, versus saying it every year or whatever time period, saying, we're going to go out and get the bid and then, or whatever, and come back, and it'll be, 35 this year, next year it'll be 37, the following year it'll be 40. Can't we just say that will be a pass-through expense versus being a, I don't, I'll leave this to the city administrator to figure that out, but to save having to act on saying, okay, we're going to charge whatever we're being charged each year. Seemed like it'd be easier just to make that inclusive in the resolution to go that way. And I think the city, like I say, whenever I got the letter, my first question was, besides it's not me, but you know, who do I call? You know, because there's a list of whole slew of names, and so I don't know any of these people, and they don't know me, and I know that whenever I did it for a business, it was like $500 or $600 to get somebody to do a business. So because we had overhead sprinklers and all this other stuff in there, so I think the direction that the city can go on this to make it as easy as possible and make it automatic. There's no need having us to wait all the way into December or whatever, and just if we set this up to say, you know, starting in whatever month, we'll start doing backflow test. If you've got a sprinkler system, we can advise the people and just go from that. I'm gonna, like I say, that's just my idea. I'll let the city administrator, he can bring it back to the whole council to see how the council thinks about it. But my idea is to make it as painless as possible for both public works and for the residents. There's no need for Max to be chasing people down when they need to have it done. And probably the main reason they haven't had it done is they don't know who to call. They're at their wits' end, you know, and just if there are like too many people, they get pieces of paper from the city and it doesn't go very far. Anyway, my 2 cents.
Yeah, and one thing I might add, I did forget to mention, we currently have a module through Cassell that actually tracks backflow devices. So it will help streamline the process a little bit for the city also. It is pretty involved, sending out the warning letters and reminders. But yeah, you know, the intent of this is responsibility off of the residents, you know, because most people, it's a once a year thing, you know, and also make the process a little smoother for the city. You know, we do an annual report that's due in March of each year. It's pretty involved. And when you don't have, you know, there's been years we haven't got everybody tested and you have to say why, and, you know, then you have to order it. So I think it's just going to streamline the process. I do believe we will probably have 100% participation. I really think if we offer this, you know, the city's making no money off of it, Don, like you said, it's a direct transfer. So we have to pay for our backflow tests anyways. So we pay for the test and just push it straight to the residential customer. So, okay, well, if there's no more questions, and I mean, city administrator and I will bring it back to the next meeting. Everybody good on the opt-in? Okay, so talk about water meters real quick. This has been a popular conversation for the last couple of years. We have been continuing to move in the direction of changing out all the water meters. Originally, we budgeted $25,000 a year. We were just kind of just get the ball rolling. Excuse me, get the ball rolling and, you know, get some new infrastructure in here. We started out, you know, with the worst of the worst. We've been pretty transparent about that. So what we're wanting to do is we wanting to buy 100 more meters. We have plenty of money in the budget, something that we budgeted for. And what we're looking at right now is maybe doing like a 3-year CIP. We could have the entire system installed. We already have purchased all the infrastructure for the automatic read system. So the only remaining part is to install the new meters at the homes. So we have 53 currently installed of the brand new cam straps, which are the drive-by systems. We have 5 of the 8 needed 2-inch water meters, the oversized water meters at the plant. They are not installed. Those are a little more involved than a residential. So just wanted to let you guys, you know, bring it to you guys that our plan is to purchase 100 meters. Meters are $269.23 a piece. That is our locked-in rate. If we buy the 100, goes up slightly if we buy them individually or buy the 10 like we have been. So the total cost before shipping would be $26,923. They are projected to do a 3 to 5% increase at the end of May, beginning of June. So obviously that would be, you know, $300 to $400, $500 if we waited till that time. I froze? Oh, you, okay. Yep, that's what I have. Any questions on that? Sorry.
Can we place, oops, I'm sorry, hit the wrong button. Can we place the purchase with multiple release dates? I know back when I was in business, we could do that. We tell them we want the full 100, we'd like to have 25 released in 3 months, 25 released in another 3 months, 25 in another 3 months. So we end up getting 100 over a year or something like that. So we can lock in, we can lock in the price. But the other thing that we do is I don't want to have a bunch of meters here and have to worry about the security or fire, or anything else, kind of insurance type related things, so that we keep our liability or our chances of something going wrong to a minimum. I don't know if that's possible or not.
Yeah, so I did bring that up, Dawn. What we're doing currently is we've been ordering them 10 at a time. And the reason why we ordered them for the street job that we had, so we did both Main Street and Lakeview, and then 10 was just an appropriate number. They come in a case of 10. I mean, we could order one. So I brought that up. We would not get the locked in price, so it would initially cost a little bit more. But as far as actually sitting at the plant, we knocked these out pretty quick. So, and if we were to, I asked about the release, if we could do, say we ordered 200 instead of 100, but do 100 now and 100 then. You just can't guarantee the price. They are very popular right now. So if we were to able to place the order now, we would get the meters. Otherwise, we'd be put on the wait list. Brownsville currently did an entire system. A lot of cities very close to us that are much larger, have 5,000 to 6,000 connections, where we only have 450. So they come in, they get shipped over from Germany, and they are out of the warehouse almost immediately. So I can always ask them again, but the intent is to order 100. And the reason why we do 100, if we did 100, and we did 100 2 more times, that would be the entire system. And we would just go from there.
Okay, I'd say go with the plan that what sounds like what you're doing, as far as I'm concerned. Get the 100, get them in, and I guess if anybody else has any thoughts on this, otherwise bring it back to the next council meeting.
How do we read them if they're German numbers?
Yeah, hey, the numbers are the same, just the saying's different.
Everybody else pays in euros, we get to pay in dollars, huh?
Yeah, we'll stay with the dollar right now. We'll get a better deal that way. Anything else about the water meters? I mean, like I said, it's nothing new to you guys. We've talked about it for the last couple of years. Just kind of moving in that direction. So, okay, that's all I have on my 2 things. So,
Thank you, Max.
yep, thank you guys.
Okay, next thing I have is the budget calendar. Mr. Conley, you want to go through that?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. As city councilors, good evening. It's that time of year again, budget season. I wanted to prepare a tentative budget calendar for everybody's review. See if you had any feedback on this, or if it looks good to you. I pretty much copied this with some adjustments from last year's calendar. I have the deliverables associated with the budget process. That includes scheduling budget committee meetings, publishing public notices required by state law, as well as the date associated with that. So again, I just wanted to present this for information, get everybody's buy-in on this. If this looks good to city council, then I'll inform the other budget committee members when they can expect their first meeting.
Anybody have any questions, thoughts?
I think it's pretty thorough.
I'd say let's go.
Okay,
Yeah, I thought so too.
I'll let the other budget committee members know that this is the schedule we will adhere to.
Are we at 10 or 9?
I'll
Or, you
have,
know,
I'll have to double check that.
Seemed like we ended up being at 9.
I think there is a vacancy. I'll double check that.
We'll have to go out and look for someone. Okay. Next up is the concerns the Parks Master Plan for Paul Fisher Park. Mr. Connell, you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At your last regular council meeting, there was some brief discussion on Paul Fisher Park. And there was some suggestion among councilors on discussing this, seeing if this was if some of the improvements were something we could fit in the budget, or otherwise just getting the conversation started on Paul Fisher Park. I'll say as well that I've had a conversation with Parks Committee Chairman, Mr. Hall, and we have scheduled a Parks Committee meeting next week for the Parks Committee to start looking at the entire recreation plan and picking out priorities that we can try to fit within the budget process. So I've included, just as a refresher, in your agenda packet, a copy of the Paul Fisher concept plan, as well as a budget that has the different elements of the project and the cost associated with that. And just to give one example, one of the preliminary conversations I had with the Parks Committee Chairman was installing some shade trees out there. And you can see that the cost estimate provided in the master plan for that was $4,250. So again, the Parks Committee will be meeting. They'll pick out certain priorities, and then we can see if this is something we could fit within the budget. And I just wanted to put this out there for any additional city council direction.
Any comments by anybody? Tim? Sam?
No, I'm reading. Sorry, I'm just reading it.
I think it's a good idea. I like the idea of going ahead and putting some trees in the ground and start getting some shade trees, especially if we've got money in the budget. It doesn't get better with time. And if we can get some ideas, concerns on how to fire up our water system, some of it's in the ground that's already there, or add to it, switch it out, do something with it. But we've got until probably the end of June or say the end of May before the things want to start turning brown again when the rains all stop. So if we could do something between now and then to keep the park green this summer, I think it would be appreciated. And the family, it seems like there's more and more families use that park as I drive over to City Hall and things like that. There's quite a few people out there. I realize COVID probably drives people out of their houses to get over there, but I think people just enjoy using it. It's a nice, clean little park. So whatever we can do and kind of look at what we have, money we have budgeted, and some ideas, you know, if we take this out and add that, what we can do within the budget. And I think what it maybe will do is lay the groundwork on how we approach Rolling Rock Park. We'll just start off with maybe just trees on that, and either a partial irrigation of it, or, you know, maybe just around the amphitheater. Because if we start to go with some small presentations, like movie in the parks and stuff like that, then it'd be nice to have some of the areas be greened up where people can throw a blanket down and sit down and watch it. So anyway, it's just we can start with one and see what the carryover for the next one is. Anybody else?
I think it will also give people a sense we're moving forward a little bit, even if it's not, all that we'd like to do.
I agree. Definitely.
Yeah, I think people are wanting to see something done. We've talked a long time, so it's time to start rolling.
In the basketball court, I'm not seeing any costs related to the backboards and the nets and the hoops and the posts. Is that included in the cost of the reinforced concrete basketball court paving project? Or is it something outside that I'm not seeing here?
Would that be part of the playground equipment, maybe, just as a general? Because I don't see anything specific, but 35,000 for playground equipment.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's a question for the Parks Committee, but I'd like to figure that out.
Yeah.
Gives them something to do.
I'll add too that I had a conversation with the landscape architect that the city started to work with to implement these plans, and he provided me a more detailed budget breakdown, and I'll review. When I get to the office tomorrow, let me look at that and see if that has some more detail on the basketball court.
If we get the library done over here, we can move out and then they can have the whole, that slab that the current building's on to have the basketball court.
Is that for parking? Is that where that's supposed to be? Is that parking or what was that? Oh, on that original one we did. Yeah.
The comment was made without looking at the map.
Yeah.
But something would be nice. It would be used between the fire department with the people that hang out, that stay there full time, and the kids and everybody else. It would be used. And it's far enough away from the Lundy where the kids can go over there and play and shoot hoops and stuff like that. That the other side of town, that side of town can don't have to worry about the kids being as far from home, crossing the highway and things of that nature.
Right.
Well,
We
my
can look
kids
forward to
my kids go all the way to the Washington Jefferson Street Bridge and into Thurston to play basketball. So since they've kind of closed down the school facilities to where you used to be able to play under the rain shelter at the grade school, the closest place is down at North Shore Park, but you can't go there at certain times, and it's one court and stuff. So I think I'd love to have a basketball court in Lowell.
Yeah.
I think we all agree. Just getting the money to get there.
It's just money.
Any other comments? Any other thoughts? Okay. Next up is discussion on next steps regarding the property at 205 East Main. Mr. Cottle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to get a conversation started among city council tonight on direction for this item, and as well as to provide an update on where we're at. As you know, last year, the city made a strategic decision to purchase this 205 East Main Street property that's right across from the city hall. It currently has it's a residential property. It's right in the middle of town, and it fits in with the plans and the goals of the downtown master plan, especially regarding additional commercial and other development. The previous owners rented the house for a few months, and so that they could get their housing situation figured out. They have now moved out. So the question is, do we continue to rent this property in order to generate income to help pay the debt service, or do we go ahead and proceed with preparing the property for sale and marketing it to potential developers. Also, I had a conversation last week with Lane County Economic Development. They gave me some good ideas that other cities and towns in Lane County have implemented as far as marketing similar properties that they've had for different purposes, such as distilling or brewing operations. They also connected me with other individuals throughout the state and agencies that can provide funding for these kinds of site preparation as well whenever you're preparing something for economic purposes for commercial development. So there are resources out there for this kind of project. So that's an overview of where we're at on this item, and I'll welcome comments and direction from City Council, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone? Yeah, Gail?
So a couple of things. So Jeremy, do we have any more information on working with the county to get that line, what is it, the lot
Railroad.
line and the right of way taken care of?
I received an update last week from the county's Public Works Department. They have went through their process of valuing the property. They prepared kind of a summary that they had to put out there for a public comment. There's a specific time frame that they have to abide by, and then they'll get back to me on whenever we're ready to start discussions on selling the property. And eventually it'll have to go to the Board of Commissioners for them to vote on disposing of the county property and selling it to us. So that process is moving along.
So is that something we're going to get done before we sell the property, or we're going to start trying to sell the property
That's what we're talking about.
before?
My
I guess I thought we were going to get that done and then sell the property. So because then that'll go to my next question. Sorry, I'm not trying to dominate here, but anyway, so what are we going to do? Are we going to sell it, start trying to sell it, or are we going to get all that done prior to? I kind of thought we were, because it would sell better that way. That was just what I remembered.
I can respond to that, Mr. Mayor.
Please do.
Counselor, you are correct. If we can vacate that right of way, that adds to the total acreage for that lot, and that's going to make it much more marketable to commercial developers. My recommendation is to continue working with it through that process as expeditiously as possible, and at the same time to start developing a plan for what we want to see there. That can include drafting an RFP, marketing that to developers, and generating some interest and ideas on that. So I think we can work on both of those in tandem. And that
That
could
sounds
also
good. As I recall, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that could also include exploring additional resources from the state. For instance, there's a sewer line that goes across the property that we might need to relocate. There are resources out there that could potentially help us pay for that. So we can be working on all of those items at the same time.
As I recall, Sean Watson had some business interest in the property as well. So, I mean, not him personally, but he had talked with, so we can talk to him as well. So if I understand this spreadsheet correctly, our monthly payment right now is $667 a month, 28 cents. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Correct.
So do we have it in the budget to continue to pay that? And the reason I ask, I don't know whether everybody else has talked with Jeremy, but when Jeremy and I talked about it once earlier, it sounds like the house is going to need some work if we're going to rent it again. So I guess we're sort of in that funny place of, we're putting money out, but how much are we gonna put into it so we can burn it down? If we rent it again.
Mr. Mayor, I can speak to
Please
that.
do.
So yes, the debt payments that we're currently making, those are currently included in the budget through the rest of the fiscal year. So we're good on that. I did go out there with Sean Watson. We did a walkthrough of the property, and he estimates that we'd have to invest about $3,000 in cleaning, painting, and other repairs to get it up to appropriate standards to start renting it back out.
Before we burn it down.
I just would be concerned about the duration.
That's the catch 22.
Yeah, the time frame we're looking at for renting, is it worth that effort of, moving, doing the painting and the cleaning, and then getting someone in there and then having interest, because we don't want to lose a possible option if we have some sort of contract and then, a month-to-month contract is iffy. Nobody wants to move in someplace and then move out 2 months later. So maybe that's short term. Maybe I'm thinking too short term. I don't know how long it takes to do the easement or whatever to get that piece of property that the county owns, or all those different steps. But it just seems like a lot of people involved in a very short term situation that could kind of be obnoxious, and then we're just going to burn it down anyways. Yes.
Well, that's kind of what I thought. I realize we're sort of taking a risk, but it just almost doesn't make sense to me. Not only that, we're landlords then, I mean, it's a whole lot of upfront work costing us anyway, $2,000. So what is that,
And then there's that risk of
4 months worth
someone
of,
in there, and will they?
yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
And I mean, how many, we're going to have to be honest that it could be 2 months, it could be a year. We don't have a clue.
Right.
And so people, are probably going to be more reluctant to rent unless we find somebody who only needs a place for a couple months or something like that. I don't know. I guess my thought is that we bite the bullet, make the payment, leave it alone. And if it looks like it's going to get into something longer term than we anticipated for some reason, then maybe we have to reevaluate it. But
I think
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any thoughts? I'll be quiet.
Go ahead, Tim.
So, is our intent to do the demolition of the house ourselves, or is our intent to sell the property to hopefully to, a commercial entity and have them deal with the demolition of it, and do the cleanup? I don't think that had ever really been discussed at any point previous to this. I don't know where, are we doing that, or is it our intent to sell it with the house intact and let them deal with it in whatever manner they want? Because there might be somebody who chooses to use that as an asset for their commercial entity if they've got to do $5,000 worth of work to it to make it whatever, a little office or something. I don't know what, but I think it's just assuming we're going to burn it down may not be what happened. And we could just call it the new Public Works Director house. So have we discussed this fact of whether our intent is to burn it down before selling it to somebody, or whether we're leaving it intact? Have we made a decision on that? Because I don't remember that.
No, I don't think.
I have a couple thoughts that I'd like to share, and I would welcome your ideas on this. The first is there are grant opportunities from the state that will pay for site development. So it's possible there are resources we could tap into to help us demolish this house to where we don't have to take on that cost ourselves. Until we explore that and see in more detail what's out there, my recommendation would be to leave it as is. And that could give the city council more time to come up with ideas on what you would like to see out there and what kind of process that we would like to go through to generate interest among developers. And, you know, if we want a retail establishment or small offices or mixed use, it could give us more time to talk about that.
You know, I think we often assume that a commercial property is going to look something like, you know, tear everything down, level it, and it's a brand new building put there. But we have a business in Lowell Armando's that made use of a building that was here and has been an establishment within our community now for pushing 10 years that made use of the old post office. So I think that I don't think we should put it out of our minds that that building is an existing structure with power and water to it and sewer out that could be turned into a small office or some other space with some modifications to it. So is it an asset or is it a detriment? I honestly don't know. It kind of depends on who's looking at the property to purchase it.
It's true.
So,
I think as we looked at, go ahead, Gail. Go ahead, Gail.
well, I was just gonna say, so what if we did leave it alone? And kind of see, you know, the interest. So, you know, once if we find somebody that wants to buy it, you know, they can make the decision whether they want it or not. I thought there was some kind of plan to burn it, burn to learn. And if that's the case, you know, and they don't want it, we could get it off of there for them, maybe that way, and give them the option.
But I
But yeah,
think that
Tim, that's a
goes,
good
you know,
thought. Because,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Right.
mean, you know, depending on what kind of a building they put up for what a business, they might want that as an office or something
Yeah.
like that. I don't know, but we could leave it until we know the developer does not want it and offer as part of the deal. If we can do the burn, I don't know how that works anymore. I know we used to burn houses around here all the time, but I thought that was a possibility there simply because it's sitting there by itself, so they could actually use it that way. And I think we donated at that point, don't we, Sam?
I believe so.
Yeah, so it wouldn't cost us, in other words.
Well, I think there's some hauling that would be involved after they burned it because it doesn't burn.
Well,
Sure.
yeah, that might be.
But just like the one that they did 2 Mays ago on at the Rolling Rock Park extension.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and didn't we clean that up, Max?
Yes.
Yeah, so anyway, maybe that's a really good idea though, is to, you know, and I guess the other question I had, are we gonna be able to sell this property? Would we, provided we aren't paying the payment too long, would we maybe sell it for enough that we would recoup what we, you know, what it has cost us?
The
Is
hope
that
would
a
be yes.
possibility? Or does anybody even know?
Yeah, the hope would be yes. Tim, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, I think going back to what Sam said, I mean, I think the piece of information that we need to know before anything else is how long it's going to take the county to go through the process to adjudicate this right away and address any other issues on that level. Because if it's pushing out towards a year or more, then I think we might be able, I mean, I had a talk with Jeremy too. I think all of us did, Gail, regarding this. And I expressed the same concern as Sam is it's going to be tough to get somebody to go, hey, you want to come rent our house for 3 months? And by the way, after 3 months, we're going to boot you out and we're going to do something else with it. Nobody's going to be really interested in that. But if we're looking at a year and it's $667 a month for our payment that we've got for the properties, and we can rent the property out for, let's say we throw $1,000 or $1,200 number out there, which isn't unrealistic in the rental market today, and it takes over a year to do this, that's $5,000. That's a significant number of payments that we would recoup in that 12-month period with the extra money. I realize we have to take the $3,000 off that Sean's talking about, the investment to upgrade the property, do the painting and a little bit of stuff. And there's a few other costs probably associated with it that I'm not accounting for, but there's still some room to do this. So if this ends up being something that's not going to be sellable within 6 months, I advocate that we renovate the property and put it up for sale. I mean, put it up for rent. I think that just having a house sitting there vacant that for a long period of time, and by long, I mean more than 6 months. 6 months is a reasonable lease period within most rental markets.
I agree. I agree. And I know our city manager's looking for somewhere closer also.
That might not be what he had in mind,
Probably not.
being
Probably.
on that corner.
You get to know the town really well then.
That's right.
In looking back at the amphitheater that we have, whenever we were doing the Rolling Rock Park purchases and stuff like that, we found out that the county still owned the land that the amphitheater sat on. And it seemed like that took a long time to go through, but it seemed like it was about 3 to 6 months after we reached this stage before it finally went to the commissioners and they acted on it and they gave us the property. And in repairing up, fixing that thing up, we're gonna have to go out with an RFP, whatever, and we're gonna have to get bids, we're gonna have to get people in, we're gonna get offers. And so you're probably looking at a good 3 months before that thing ever becomes available. We're gonna pay out $3,000, $4,000 to whatever it is to get it done. And then then if you take the 600 plus another 600 less if a management fee is in there, we're probably looking at between 9 and 12 months before we start to break even on that $3,000 or $4,000, whatever it's going to cost to invest that thing. So we're looking if we're looking at holding that property for a year to a year and a half, then I would say that we won't make money on it by renting it, but at least we'll break even on renting it. You know, the rent payment will probably cover our mortgage payment that we're making. So, and that's just off the top of my head for guessing. So, you know, if we decide to spend money, it's going to take I think a bit of time before we get that money back. So, and right now, like I say, the city administrator is talking with the state about getting some help on clearing the lot and things like that. And so, and he's working with Lane County about some different companies that may look at it, and within that scope of when he's talking to the county, we can also ask them, you know, would they want to leave the building on it or take it off, which would be the Tim's question. Okay, should we be looking at tearing it down, or should we be looking at leaving it where it is? Does somebody want to take it and upgrade it, change it, and that be the center for their hub? I don't know. I don't even know what the state of the building is. It may be in such disrepair underneath, mold, whatever, that it may be something that they wouldn't want. But I think that these are still some things I think the city administrator can look at and maybe come back with us, whether this month or the next month, on some timetables of what it would take to do some of these things and what kind of money it would take. Anything else? Okay.
So it sounds like a good discussion, but we really don't have all the information we need to go forward. I think we all kind of have a good understanding of all the different directions this could go. It sounds like, you know, 3 or 4 possible different directions in the long run. I think the ultimate goal is to sell the property and divest ourselves of that investment and get a return on it.
I think you're 100% right.
Well, and remember, we got 24 months and we're into that before we either refinance it or we got to, I mean, this is just a 24-month, no interest only payment. So
Yeah, hopefully something will happen before then.
So Mr. Mayor, if I'm understanding, the consensus among city council seems to be, for the time being, we are not going to rent out the property. We're going to continue our process of vacating that right of way, developing ideas for getting it back on the market. if in 6 months' time, approximately, it looks like this is gonna be a much more longer and detailed process at that time, we can revisit possibly renting this out. Am I understanding correctly?
I think so. Does everybody think does everybody agree with that? And, like I say, continue to work with the county to, see if they can, give us, their plan of action on what they want to do with, the right of way. I realize we have a right of way on the each side of the street. If, we can break the one out and work one of them and then, to expedite their action, or if they're equally slow on both of them, then we can, continue the way we're going.
That gives me the direction I need.
Okay. Okay. Last but not least, an update on the Maggie Osgood Library renovation project. Mr. Cotton, please.
We are still being considered for funding for this project. The granting agency has asked us to bid out the project so that they have firm budget numbers and they can make sure we receive the appropriate consideration that we need to get the resources we need to make this project happen. My recommendation is to proceed with issuing requests for proposals for qualified architectural firms to draw up final designs and specifications, to prepare bid documents, and to manage construction. My goal, if council is amenable to that idea, is to get a RFP to you for your consideration at your regular March meeting, so that you could vote on that and authorize me to start that process. The goal would be to have an architect hired in the April to May timeframe, to have drawings completed with your involvement sometime in the middle of the summer, and to start soliciting construction bids sometime late summer, early fall. That's a tentative timeline. But I wanted to give you an update so that I could get additional thoughts or comments as I'm working on this.
Anyone? Yeah, Tim?
Yeah, were you able to reach out and find any point of contact with the Jehovah's Witness organization to see if there was any drawings of the existing structure that we could get?
No, sir, I haven't done that yet, but that is absolutely on my to-do list.
They tend to make a set pattern and things like that, so they kind of cookie cutter things, so hopefully, they would have it. Anyone else?
I'm excited that the Ford Foundation is pushing forward this. I think pretty positively about the feedback.
I agree. I think they're trying to work with us, and they're almost in our corner trying to help us go forward, and they want to work to our benefit. So I appreciate what they're trying to do, and I think I understand why they're trying to do it. So it just seems like with everything else, you know, we talk about months, but you know, we're looking behind us and we're talking about years. So it's just, I realize that eventually it'll be done, but just everything takes so long. It's just like the right of way over. It seemed like if it was one person or one small group you're dealing with, you could get something done. But whenever it goes from group to group to group to group, you know, it's. I reflect to my business world. They said if you ever want to not do something, keep going up higher and higher up the ladder. Eventually, you'll find someone that says no, and that's almost kind of the way you feel sometimes with these deliberations that we're doing and going on. That's a personal thing. It's not reflected of any of our governmental people here in this state, if they're listening. Anything else?
I just want to emphasize that the We have not received the funding yet. This is just our requirement that they asked of us so that we can continue in the process.
But that's not a no.
Nope. We like that. I think, like I still say, that, and listening to them in the meeting that we were in with them, and the feedback, the questions they asked us, the way they presented themselves and what they came back with, like I say, I feel like that they're in our corner helping us on this, and, wanting to help us on this. It's not going to be something where we put a whole bunch together, then they turn around and go, I doubt it. So I think that, I really feel positive about what they're trying to do and how they're trying to do it. Anything else by anybody?
I had a question about the blackberry jam.
Okay, let's ask it. Uh-oh.
I just wondered how the meeting went, Jeremy, and I understand they decided not to have it, but
Yes, ma'am, that was, they put that to a vote and agreed that in light of the public health situation and the late stage of planning, that it wouldn't be feasible to pull that off. But they are meeting again on Thursday. They agreed at the last meeting to come back in 2 weeks' time to get some ideas together. And that's what they're going to do this Thursday. Not only will the committee be meeting, but also the other group of volunteers. So it's all going to be the entire group, so they can have a more in-depth discussion on what kinds of possible events that we can hold. They had some ideas at the last meeting, such as movies in the park, maybe some concerts where people can sit out in their cars, things of that nature. But I anticipate that they'll flesh that out in more detail this Thursday.
okay, good.
Yeah, they were very excited about it, about options.
Oh, good. Okay. I was just curious. I'm not, just wondered if we were going to try and do anything at all. So that's great. Thank you.
The last 2 years, and I know that they won't be able to do it, but the last 2 years, we got contacted at the last moment about having fireworks. And the last 2 years, we said, well, maybe we could put it at the high school and have people in the park. But, with social distancing, I don't see it happening this year. I don't know that we've been asked, but it seems like they tend to ask us in, late May, something like that. And we've never had a chance to, because you have to go through the county, this and that, to get the approval for all these things, get set up for trafficking. And I also, I think the last year, I don't know about, but I think this year there's going to be so few things that we could have 10 times the population in this town as a normal day. So people wanting to watch it. I know we already have a good number of backyards that do fireworks, which makes it spectacular. But as an organized event, I'm not even sure. I'm not even safe to try to look to see to go forward with it, but I wouldn't be surprised to be contacted at the last moment again to see if we want to do it. So, but that's just 2 cents.
2020 was a spectacular firework year, neighborhood wide.
Yes.
It was quite amazing.
You can come out and watch it and enjoy it. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else? No, not hearing anything. We'll do this in another 2 weeks.
I'll be
So we're
calling in
adjourned.
from
What's
Nevada.
that again?
I'll be
Okay.
calling in from Nevada in 2 weeks.
Okay. Enjoy the
Okay.
baby.
Yep.
And so we're adjourned at 8 o'clock. Let's call it straight up. We had 1 hour of fun.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Gail,
Hi, you
Gail?
guys.
Gail,
Yeah. Yeah. What?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm looking for a supervisor and need somebody who has experience at the Corps of Engineers in a supervisory role. If you're interested, it's a wage supervisor 10 position, but it's a new and exciting job.
Yeah. Okay.